There were a couple of promotions which went in purely by the work that they have done, and their only other person watching for it or speaking about it was their manager, literally no one else. The amount of effort it takes to get those promotions through is much harder, and it is whole and solely on the shoulders of their manager and their genuine interest. People got to be lucky to get such nice managers.
Welcome to From a Woman to a Leader, the podcast for ambitious leaders in tech who are ready to grow their confidence, influence, and leadership without burning out or pretending to be someone they're not. I'm your host, Limor Bergman Gross. This week, I'm speaking with Lalitha Madhugundu. Lalitha is a senior engineering manager at Atlassian with over 20 years of experience in software engineering. Lalitha led large-scale cloud transformation, built resilient teams, and learned, sometimes the hard way, that technical skills alone won't get you where you want to go. And in the conversation today, we talk about why doing great work is not enough if no one knows about it. We also talk about genuine curiosity and how it can open doors you are not looking for, and what it really takes to get promoted when you're the quiet one in the room. If you ever wondered why your hard work is not translated to clear career growth you deserve, this episode is for you and it's going to help you. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi, Lalitha. How are you?
Hello, Mar. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, very well. I'm so excited speaking with you today. And why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about your role today? What do you do today in your career?
That's a fantastic starting point, I would say. Um, there are a lot of things which I do by my role and a lot of things which I do outside the role definition. And I'm quite interested to share why I do certain things which is not part of my role and why and how basically it helps me grow as well. Yeah, let's start off with what I do. I am a senior engineering manager at Atlassian. My team basically manages one part of the cloud infrastructure, specifically around the networking area. And I will talk about the story when I said cloud networking later.
Yeah.
That's the technical definition of my role. What I do differs. No two days are same, but most of the time it is basically helping build and shape the infrastructure and also help the business grow within Atlassian, which is basically by supporting all the different products and scaling them, growing them. All of that fundamental parts. Apart from that, I do a lot of people management too for my team. So I'm the frontline manager. I help my team basically do their best, what they are really good at doing, understanding their strengths and building on top of their strengths, which in turn helps the team and overall organization as well.
Wonderful. And you mentioned to me when we talked a while back that along your about 20 years of career, you learned a lot of things. And one of the things you mentioned is like, it's not enough to be very good technically. The technical skills are not sufficient for you to grow.
Yep.
Especially if you want to get into leadership and senior leadership like you do today. So tell us, what have you learned?
That's such a broad and an interesting area. There is a lot which I would love to share. Let's start from, since we are starting from my own narration, my own career, let me start being an IC, what it means to have these leadership skills and how you go about developing day to day and how does that really play out when you're taking up much senior roles or much challenging roles, I would say.
Yeah.
So leadership in itself is such a fundamental skill, which is essential for even an IC. Why I say that is, say, I quote an example, start off with one of the pretty early examples that I can think of in my developer days. It was about 3, 4 years experience around that time, pretty much being hands-on, doing the work, and then pulling off extra hours to meet the deadlines, whatnot. And then I had one of the team members who was pretty much struggling, and we were not moving as fast as we wanted to. So I did take some time. It was not expected out of me. I was not entitled, or I didn't have a title of a leader back then. But then I did take up some time to sit with that person through exactly what was happening behind the scenes. It's not just about writing the program, how it is basically interpreted, how it works. So, yeah, it did slow us down for some time. But then what happened eventually is um, we did catch up after a few days, and the velocity actually doubled. It is a benefit. So,
Wow.
what I'm trying to say here is leadership is a skill which you naturally have it and you develop it. So, I didn't have to be told that this is not part of my role or, expectation as such. So, stepping up and doing that extra thing for the greater benefit of your team, or it could be for the work that you're doing or a business, or even out of your interest in helping others grow. That is one of the leadership qualities.
Wow.
So that really builds upon.
Yeah, and this story is really fantastic and folds several lessons, I think. I mean, one of that is like, you don't need a title to lead, right? You don't need anyone to give you like a manager, a tech lead title to
Yes.
be a leader,
Yep.
right? And the
So,
second,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic feeling. Thinking back about this example gives me such a rewarding experience and a feel good factor. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Also, Nita, it's also about, so many people think like being an engineer, it's like, okay, you come, you sit in front of your computer, you write code or whatever. But
Yep.
you're not on an island, you work with other people.
Absolutely. So systems are interconnected. So should be teams, and so should be the individuals who are working on the systems. This is exactly what I keep trying to help my team understand. And now, wherever I'm working, my team, we recently had one of the survey results, internal survey results, which came out saying that I feel my team feels so connected, not just within our team, but outside as well across the departments. They can easily get the work done. So they understand the importance of it over a period of time. This is such a fundamental skill that everyone should learn at the very beginning of their journey, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a motivation boost for people to feel like they're connected.
Yep.
Feeling like they work in an environment that is supportive and collaborative.
One.
I just talked to a client yesterday, and he said he was looking for a different job, and he said like, yeah, one of the things I was really struggling, was with the environment he was at, right? That it was not very supportive, and said it's really important for me that the next job will be supportive, both the manager and also the team members. And also you mentioned something that I wanted to highlight. You mentioned like, yeah, it slowed us down at the beginning, right? You sat down, you took an initiative to help another engineer. No one asked you to do that. It wasn't part of like your roles and responsibility. It slowed you down initially.
Correct.
But then things started to shift. And you were actually
Yep.
able to compensate for that and even more.
Yeah, that's such a good narrative. Yes. And especially ICs, they tend to overlook it. Everybody, or at least a few people that I have been mentoring outside of my regular job, I keep hearing the same kind of narrative. I'm so focused on work, I get the work done, but still I don't see the growth or that next promotion that I'm expecting. What should I be doing differently? So, this is one of the challenges, especially with women. We feel getting the work done is enough and the work speaks for itself. That's definitely not always true.
Okay, so you mentioned like you see with women, and actually I very much relate to that we tend to think we just need to do a good job And that's enough. And you're saying and then we complain that we don't progress. So can you share a little bit, Lalitha, based on either your experience or the people you manage, you work with, what will help someone to progress? Obviously, they do a good job, they are good at what they do, but what else is helping?
Look, connection is such a fundamental principle, I would say. This is one way benefiting individual grow their skills in itself, mature their skills. Say, for example, why do we have peer reviews? A lot of learning happens when a person raises a PR. Like it is said, two minds are better than one, right? So when you raise a PR, somebody else goes through it, identifies there is a better way to do it, and there is a learning which is happening behind the scenes. So that's the benefit of connecting with others. That'll deepen the skills much faster than what you think. So this is one of the very basic example any IC can relate to. That is what I would say. Yeah, what was the other part you were asking me about?
Yeah, so you said connecting with others. You say it's important to connect, to get other perspectives, to get
Yes.
feedback. Yeah. What else? Because, I'll be honest with you, Lalitha, especially for women. I mean, I think, and this is something I've seen personally in my career and also with a lot of women that I work with and women that I coach, visibility is one of the things we struggle with because and again, I'm talking about me and people that I coach, tend to think we can do a good job, someone will notice us and promote us. I was actually passed down several times for leadership roles just because I was quiet. I didn't say what I wanted. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't build allyship. I didn't, build enough visibility. Based on your kind of perspective, how can women, or, to be honest, also men that are very quiet and feel uncomfortable with speaking up, what can we do?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, right, that is one of the examples of ICs building that connection, learning faster. That is one side of building the connection or the network within an organization. The other thing, other benefit is you would potentially identify mentors who could help you mature at your role level, or if you're looking for that promotion and progression, whatever it might be, even before you bring it up with it could be the manager or it could be the workplace, wherever it is officially, you could bring it up. You could discuss those aspirations openly with your mentor who can help you guide in the right direction. And they will be the ones who can assess your current strengths and the skills, where it stands in terms of promotion and what are the areas and opportunities. These kind of authentic feedback helps someone grow much more faster than someone interpreting and working on their own. So that's definitely one thing which would help. And what other thing it could do is building connections is basically you're building a brand of your own. What it essentially means is you're silently having some sponsors who can speak up for you on behalf of you in the space where you're not present. That is so fundamental in anybody's career growth, irrespective of the gender we are speaking here.
Definitely, Later. This is so important, and I want to emphasize, yes, it's not just for women. Actually, I had an engineer, at least I remember one, right? I'm sure that there were more, that he was super, super, super smart and talented, and he did an incredible job, but he was very, very quiet, and he felt very uncomfortable speaking up. And I tried to push him, to talk, to present, and he was always shying away. And I was really fighting really hard for him to get a promotion. It was really difficult because no one knew him outside of the immediate circle of engineers that worked with him.
This is so true. I have a real experience with such scenarios, I can say. We had about a few promotions. I would say, when I say few, it is somewhere nearly about 10 promotions amongst a group of 100, let's say. Of those, there were a couple of promotions which went in purely by the work that they have done, and their only other person watching for it or speaking about it was their manager, literally no one else. The amount of effort it takes to get those promotions through is much harder, and it is whole and solely on the shoulders of their manager and their genuine interest. People got to be lucky to get such nice managers. They do exist,
Yeah.
right? I don't say that managers are generally bad, but then everybody has their own agendas full and their calendars full. So things do fall out. So you need to speak for your work. If you're not speaking, who else will take genuine interest in your own growth? That is what is the narrative I'm trying to say. So of all those promotions, when the promotions came out, it is also a sense of satisfaction people feel. There were a bunch of people from outside the teams, departments congratulating rest of folks, apart from these two candidates whom I'm talking about. Kind of disheartened me a bit because these people have put in equal effort or more in whatever the sense, right? But at this end of it, you don't really see those many accolades coming in from multiple other sources. That is one sense of joy and accomplishment people could have missed out.
Yeah, sure. And I know it doesn't sound fair,
Yeah,
right? But the world is not fair. I would say, as you said, like managers are not bad people, but they're busy people. And a lot of times it's
yes,
not even about the time. It's just like the manager is not the only one that is determining your career path.
correct. What if your manager changed in between? So that is another scenario. People got to think about it, right? So things do happen. People keep looking for better opportunities, or it could be anything else that is happening. All these environmental or the circumstantial things make any changes in your reporting line. Then you're left with your own responsibility of advocating.
Yeah. Yeah. The manager can change. And also, as you grow into, especially as you grow into more senior roles, usually
Yep.
there's a committee and it's not just up to your manager to decide that. So take into account that you need to make sure that the right
Yes.
people know who you are at least and what your contributions are.
Yep. The more senior an IC grows into, the more the network they build is going to accelerate their influence, their span of control, and the outcome or the impact they bring in the business.
Okay, so we talked about, Lalitha, we talked about building connections, finding mentors, seeking feedback, building a brand, finding sponsors. What else do you think is important?
Okay. So leadership skills, we did touch upon it. It is not just one dimension, there are multiple dimensions to it. And all of the other factors which we spoke about are interrelated. So, building that network, be it building the network or creating your own brand, advocating for yourself, how do you go about influencing? That all is the byproduct of your skills and showing that genuine interest in helping someone or, you know, helping the business in itself, solving a problem. That is what makes things happen, and it moves one's career as well as their own knowledge. So it could be momentarily feeling like you're helping yourself with the growth within the organization you're working in, but these connections play out in a longer term when your network grows beyond the current organization and you're looking for opportunities, it could be, or you're basically working with a customer or a client, you get better deals. So, all of these build out of the genuine interest in building that network and connections within and outside.
This is really, really important. And I want to just highlight kind of several things I heard from you. So one of the things I've seen with many people, we tend to think a lot of times, and it's not a bad thing, it's just natural human being. We tend to think about ourselves, right? I mean, in general, human beings are ego driven, right?
Yeah.
We're driven by ourselves, what we want to achieve. So we think about, oh, I'm doing a good job. I'm solving problems. I want to advance. It's all about me, me, me. And what you mentioned is something that I think people not invest enough thought about. Think about not just about yourself, but also about who can you help? How what you do impact the business, right? You mentioned helping someone, helping the business, solving problems. So how can you be, and this is what you did, right? With your story that you started with, you helped
Yes.
someone else. So
Yep.
who can you help? How can you help your manager? How can you help your stakeholders? How can you help the business?
Yeah. And it is so fundamental. Again, the reason I say this is it creates such an abundant opportunity. Just be curious about learning what is happening outside of your own space. So, be it a technical problem your teammate is solving where you're not directly involved in, or be it you see a repeated issue in a product which you work with, share that feedback. You never know, you might have a suggestion. Share that feedback along with suggestion how it should work. You never know how much they would appreciate that, how it'll help prioritize the future. It could be within the company you're working or outside, wherever it is, right? It would definitely come out some way or other. So, the reason I say this is I have a very good example, which I can quote again from my early days, where I was just curious. I was kind of curious to understand how functionally things work at the client side. So, I was working on a project for a client, and then we had our teams geographically located, and one of this client team was based out of US. So how it basically works is we have a clearly defined project which the team, naturally the team I was part of, would work on. So I was genuinely interested to learn not just solving the problem that is given at hand, and also to just see how things work out once we are done with our side of things. How do they integrate, plug in with other parts of the larger system, and what exactly goes into the end user's hand? So I was talking about these details with one of my counterparts on the other side of the business. And it so happened that they understood I was naturally curious and understanding, and I was just popping up with the ideas. What if we do this versus what if we did that? Maybe it would solve a problem. It might have, I don't know what impression I left with the person, but then that person adds me into the discussion with the clients where I'm just silently sitting and trying to understand whenever there is a discussion about an issue or a potential feature that is coming in. So this was happening a couple of times. Behind the scenes, what it opened up for me is that person was basically um, advocating for me there at the client side, saying, we have a genuine person who seems to be interested, and they seem to have this analytical skill who can understand things, solve the problem, or at least come up with ideas thinking out of the box. I have done nothing different. The ideas which I was sharing was something which we do day to day, and it was same as you ask a couple of others in my team. It's just that I was curious, I was asking questions, so that is what built that connection, and the person was advocating for me. What happened next is basically I was put on a project where I had to work at the client side. So this was a relocation opportunity for me. That means understanding how systems work directly at the client side. This was such a big opportunity. And that was never my intention at all. I was genuinely being curious to learn. So this is what I'm trying to say, being genuinely interested and trying to look outside of the horizon. What we are working at hand definitely pays out sometime in the future.
I think this story and all the insights you share are really strong. And I want to just emphasize it's about thinking beyond just what you do on a day to day,
Correct.
thinking bigger, taking a higher level view, being curious, and not try always to be opportunistic about it. I think this is another thing, right? That people think, oh, I will do this if I benefit something out of it. And what you
Yeah.
mentioned here, the story you mentioned, like, I was just curious. I just wanted to learn how the client sees what we're working on, how it is from the client side, what kind of challenges they have. I was just curious. And you gained someone who advocated for you, and you gained a relocation opportunity, and you were not even looking for those.
Yep. Absolutely. These are such fundamental things we forget to do. We often just focus narrowly on the task at hand, try to get things done, put our heads down as ICs. So I would encourage people doing more of this. And today's world is so fast paced, it is often so hands-full for everyone not to look around, but it is definitely a genuine way of getting things done much faster in the longer run, I would say.
For sure. Oh, you shared so much value, and there's so many insights. I took notes of all of them. This is incredible. Before we end today, I wanted to ask you, first of all, Lalitha, if there's anything else you want to leave with our listeners, if there's anything I haven't asked or we haven't talked about.
There is one big mammoth which exists, the imposter syndrome. And trust me, I had the same, level of confidence shaken up because of the imposter syndrome. And it does surface every now and then, even now. It is not alien to me or not alien to anyone. I have spoken to public speakers who talk at multiple different conferences, and also have spoken to people who are at much, much senior level, and they have genuinely opened up. They do experience imposter syndrome. So it is all about understanding in what scenarios that surfaces and how you can overcome it. That is an important aspect. All of these areas which I was talking about, there is definitely a voice within saying, why should I bother? Why should I just take interest in somebody else's work? Or it could be, why should I be spending some time and effort in somebody else's problem? It is not their problem. Ultimately, it is a skill that you're growing within yourself. So
For
we
sure.
need to understand. That's what I would say.
For sure. Yes, and imposter syndrome is real. And as you said, I mean, we all face it at one point or another, and it comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's not flat. It's not. So I guess to our listeners, I mean, everyone has it to some degree.
Yep.
So you don't have to feel bad about it if you do kind of question yourself sometimes.
Yeah. You just need to recognize when does it come out.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, you mentioned public speaking. I really believe that public speaking is a great tool to build confidence and visibility. So I
Yep.
encourage everyone to experience it. It could be in podcasts, it could be within the company, it could be in conferences, but it really helps to build confidence, even if you are scared of it.
Yep. All it takes is taking that first step. Yep. For
Exactly,
sure.
exactly. And Lalitha, before we end today, how can our listeners find you?
I'm reachable on LinkedIn, and that handle I will leave it with you. That is where I connect, and there are various different groups where I'm part of. I do mentoring as part of these groups, like within Australia, it is something like Tech Leading Ladies, and across outside of Australia, especially, this is now becoming more geographical. Is ShiTu is another program where
Yeah,
I do mentoring, so you can find me in any of these groups.
definitely. I will mention that and thank you for giving back. I'm a huge believer in that, by the way. And that's how I became eventually a coach. I started mentoring. So I'm really a great believer in giving back
Yeah.
and serving others.
This was so great. Thanks for sharing that, Limor.
Yeah. And Lalitha, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing so many insights today.
Absolutely. It is fantastic. I wish I had all this exposure in my earlier years. I would have been elsewhere. So it's my time to give back to people.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Limor. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope it was valuable for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting platform and share it with any woman who needs to hear it. And I'll see you next week. Bye.